You have to focus yourself on traffic for sure. Without traffic, it's like a bloodstream. You don't have traffic, you won't have any sales, no matter how great your product is. So the first thing, obviously, you have to concentrate is creating a base product to get online and to start marketing it. However, the second thing and the biggest priority after that is traffic, highly qualified and effective traffic that gets to your funnel and then engages and converts.
Welcome to the E-Commerce Marketing Podcast, the highly rated digital marketing podcast that provides weekly digital marketing tips and strategies from some of the world's top digital marketers and e-commerce entrepreneurs that will help you take your digital marketing to the next level. Sit back and enjoy this power-packed episode hosted by Arlen Robinson, who is an e-commerce entrepreneur and digital marketing expert with over 20 years of experience. Hey, E-Commerce Marketing Podcast listener. Are you looking to increase traffic and sales to your website? You can do this by launching your own affiliate program. Just visit getosi.com and sign up for a free trial today. That's getosi.com. Now get ready to hear from your e-commerce marketing expert of the week as they drill down to give you details on marketing strategies that can help grow your business.
Welcome back to the E-Commerce Marketing Podcast, everyone. My name is Arlen, and I am your host. And today we've got a very special guest, Ihor Sokolov, who is the CEO and co-founder of the ConversionRate.Store, which is a leading performance-based conversion optimization agency with a team of over 50 members. ConversionRate.Store is one of the largest CRO agencies in the world. Welcome to the podcast, Ihor.
Thank you, Arlen. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, no problem. And thank you for joining us. Today, we're going to be, of course, diving deep into your expertise, which is, of course, conversion rate optimization and user experience optimization as well, which are really two hot areas these days because, it's really about optimizing users' experience in order to really help increase, your profits and grow the company. So super excited to dive deep into that. But, before we do get into all of that, why don't you tell us a little bit more about your background and specifically how you got into what you're doing today?
Sure. Well, I started as a salesperson, and in my experience, being able to sell things helps a lot in any profession. So then I moved on to a communication. So I was selling ideas, I was selling narratives to journalists. Basically, I was moving on from one career path to another career path, looking for a way to fulfill my needs and my aspirations. And the things that I found, the consulting business in optimizing conversion is something that currently makes me feel compelled, and something that I'd like to devote my time to for the time being. So currently, I'm working as a CEO of Conversion Rate Optimization Agency. I'm a co-founder of the agency. We are, modestly saying, we're one of the biggest CRO agencies in the world. We are based in Kiev. We have team outside of Kiev, Ukraine. I mean, we have team outside of Kiev in Europe and US, but the majority of our team is in Ukraine right now. Well, when I started as a freelancer, so I was looking for an opportunity to get into IT business. I started as a freelancer creating landing pages, and when I was selling landing pages, people were telling me, "So how are your landing pages better than anyone else's?" So I started to sell highly converting landing pages, and that's how I got into user experience. UX research and qualitative and quantitative analytics. Basically, I was evolving in this, and in the end, it came out to a team of 10 people doing conversion rate optimization. Now we are a much larger team servicing companies from SaaS apps to e-com and marketplace, and doing what we love to do.
Okay, that's awesome. And thank you for sharing that. Appreciate that. Conversion rate optimization, the way I see it, and I've had this conversation before with many others that have been on the podcast, with a lot of the e-commerce businesses and brands that I deal with, a lot of times conversion rate optimization becomes somewhat of an afterthought, unfortunately, because there's always a push with brands to just drive as much traffic to their site, get as many leads coming into their site as possible. Kind of regardless of what the conversion rate is looking like, they're just always pushing leads, and they're doing a lot of art advertising on the social networks, the Google AdWords, and all of these other um, channels to push in all of that traffic. But what a lot of brands don't really fail to realize, that if you don't address uh, converting customers once they're on the site, then you're almost, you might as well just be, taking cash and burning it literally, because that's kind of what you're going to be doing. And I've seen a lot of brands go through that issue where, there's some blatant things wrong with their funnel. And if they don't address them, just sending traffic to the site is really not going to help increase their sales or anything like that. It's like I said, it's just like burning money. And this kind of leads me to my first question. What would you say are some key characteristics that really define, a highly effective e-commerce conversion funnel today that you've seen?
You're absolutely correct that the majority of our clients, not only our clients, but basically the majority of businesses are concentrated on traffic. And I'll ask you another question, something that I've been thinking of for a while now, because I was speaking at giving some talks around Europe, and one thought that crossed my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine you have a very, let's say, suboptimal product,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of good traffic. You will still sell, no matter how bad the product is. I've seen products that are 20 years old. They've been created in like 2004 or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
They sell hundreds of thousands worth of sales
Mm-hmm.
monthly, just because people just want to buy this product, and no matter what, they will buy it. So they will find a way to buy it, even if the site is, let's say, not as efficient as it could be.
Mm-hmm.
They will still buy it. Now imagine the other scenario: an amazing product, but very little traffic, or in fact, very little qualified traffic. Some rubbish traffic coming from some networks, pushing it. There will be still zero sales. So
Yeah.
my contemplation on this for the past period is that it has to be a very balanced model. You have to focus yourself on traffic for sure. Without traffic, it's like a bloodstream. You don't have
Right.
traffic, you won't have any sales, no matter how great your product is.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing, obviously, you have to concentrate is creating a what's called um, a base product to get online and to start marketing it. However, the second thing, and the biggest priority after that, is traffic, highly qualified and effective traffic that gets to your funnel and then engages and converts. However, in the end, it all comes down to acquisition cost. If you can drive more and more traffic, and we have clients who drive millions of paid traffic monthly, so they spend
Mm-hmm.
millions of dollars worth of millions of uh, dollars worth of traffic, they spend online on all the advertising platforms that you can think of. But in the end, they say, well, we reached the point where our acquisition cost is just too high. We don't cover the cost. So what do we
Mm-hmm.
do? I say, well, there are two things you can do. You can go and look for other traffic. It will be less qualified, so the average revenue per user, and basically its metrics would be lower. Therefore, acquisition cost will still be increasing. So, or you can work on your funnel.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of the return on investment, when you reach a particular threshold, working on your funnel gives you much higher returns than plowing more money into traffic. And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
this is the case everywhere. And I will tell you, if I would have a product, my concern would be to make the product, the minimal as a minimal viable or minimal lovable product, as someone call it, to make sure that it converts. So make sure that the
I see.
funnel is functional, and then as much traffic as it possibly can, qualified, effective traffic, and efficient traffic to the product. But my optimization would be the priority as soon as I start seeing that I'm reaching threshold in terms of the customer acquisition cost. And then the focus would be there. So it's an evolution of thought, evolution of activity that you should take whenever you are creating and promoting a product.
Yeah, that's a different train of thought that I think a lot of business owners have. An example would be, let's say we're a startup brand, and they're coming out with, let's say, a line of women's clothing. Let's just say, they have a very variety of different styles and things like that, different products that they've developed. So what you're saying would be, before really kind of going all in, putting their whole product catalog out there, maybe just start with a few select products and launch the site, get it out there, and then just focus on that, optimizing the conversions coming in, and optimizing the funnel, before going all in and putting their entire product catalog out there. I think that does seem to be a little bit different than I think what a lot of brands, the route that a lot of brands take. A lot of brands will wait till they have their whole line available to be sold, and then they just put it all out there, open the floodgates and just kind of see what happens.
Well, you're right. There is no course. Um, there's no preparation for becoming a successful entrepreneur or an
Yeah,
e-commerce shop. So a lot of
for sure.
people I know, they're very, um, you know, they're driven by their emotion, by their internal drive. So they do what they think is plausible to do at that point. The plausible thing to do is to get everything you have on the market and then drive as much traffic to it. This is basically the a natural thing to do for anyone. To get
Mm-hmm.
to open the store, get all the stuff that you possibly can there to maximize your assortment, and then get people in. But there
Mm-hmm.
is a one thing that you need to know, and I'm sure you and your audience would know this. There is a direct positive correlation with with the conversion rate and the number of products available in the shop. So the product assortment and the conversion rate there is a direct positive correlation. Of course, it doesn't mean that the more products you have, the higher conversion rate you'll be. There has to be a balance. But basically, if you have, say, two shoes and you're selling two pairs of shoes, or you have 100 different pairs of shoes, the conversion
Mm-hmm.
rate would be very different.
Sure.
So I would suggest for anyone who's starting the business or anyone who's growing the business to continuously increase the product assortment and to continuously introduce new categories, to continuously increase the volume of traffic allocated and generated to the e-commerce store, but be very mindful of your metrics like bounce rate, like e-commerce conversion rate, like average order value, like average revenue per user. And of course, something that a lot of people overlook is the repeat purchase rate. To increase your
Mm.
customer lifetime value, you need users to
Yeah.
return. So when they bought is just the first step. You've done your first milestone, but then you have to capture the details, segment them by the product they bought, and come back to them with a specialized and personalized offer, inviting them back in. Say you bought a dress, so we have perfect shoes for you, or perfect bag for you for the next that matches what you
Mm.
already bought. Oh, we have a selection of dresses like you bought. We give you, as a valued customer, we'll give you 10% off. You have to focus there. The companies that win now, those are the
Mm.
companies that focus on retention and repeat purchase.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. That, you really kind of dove into what I was thinking as far as what the point that a lot of brands are in, where they've launched, they're getting a fair amount of traffic, fair amount of sales, their conversion rate is okay, and then a lot of times the issue then is the getting the repeat customers to come back. Especially with new brands, it's really difficult because uh, they may get that initial push, that little initial bump, because they're a new brand. They've done a lot of initial marketing. Their socials are, kind of starting to get a lot of attention with that initial push, but then people may pull the trigger, and then it's just that the repeat purchase is where I think a lot of brands struggle with. And I know you mentioned there's a couple things that you can do, of course, with the targeting those customers that have purchased, with giving them emails about similar products, things that they may be interested. outside of that, are there any other tactics that a brand can use to help increase these repeat purchases? I think it's a really it's a weak spot for a lot of brands these days.
Well, I've seen companies that are doing this exceptionally well, better than even we could do. In fact, I'm just saying that we get inspirations from some brand because they are so amazing at this. The key to repeat purchase is personalization,
Okay.
segmentation, personalization, and you know, what would say personalized offers, where not only communication but the offer is also personalized.
Mm-hmm.
We know this from the research and the experimentation we did for some of our clients, where we identified how users react to prompts or to messages that encompass the past purchase behavior. So the historic behavior. When we say that we know that you've been purchasing this and we know that you've been purchasing it regularly, how about we offer you a subscription with a 15% off, because we see that you're offering this every month or every 6 weeks. So how about we offer you a subscription? And this is something that we've been looking into, with a lot of energy in the past period. We've seen that there's a lot of opportunity to increase customer lifetime value by implementing a subscription-based model. So there are products, and I'll give you a few examples. There are products that users are buying regularly, but perhaps not as regularly for an e-com store to notice that this is a regular purchase, maybe every 3 or 4 months. So I'll give you an example. We have a client who is selling patches, or let's say stickers, like mosquito repellent stickers for kids, and they work really well, by the way. It's a great company from Australia, very successful now. What we found is that there is a period when there's an influx of purchase, and some proportion of these users are repeat purchasers. And well, when we looked at it, it was quite an obvious thing. Of course, there is an influx because it's a seasonal product. Because mosquitoes come at a specific season, and they, get away. The trips to the countryside, to rivers, and so on with kids take place at a particular period of the year. So what we found is that if we get these users to get a auto replenishment every year, or in fact for them it was slightly more often, then it is a subscription-based model, and then repeat purchases come naturally. But then again, there is another aspect of this. A lot of times we see that users would cancel. Well, there will be some cancellation, and that's very natural. So we ask them why. They say, "Well, I have just too many of them. I'm stocked up." And they say, "Well, I want to cancel." Say, "Well, if you cancel, there have been some changes to our policy, which is a real deal. So the conditions will change. Therefore, what we suggest you do, you don't cancel, you pause. You basically push away the period of delivery by, say, a month or 2 months or 3 months. In that case, we are not only be able to capture the user for a subscription-based model, we're able to retain him for a long period of time if we have some tactics in place to keep them there, and to keep them happy, and made him feel heard, that we're not only just pushing the product upon him, we're making sure that he gets it when he needs it, so he's able to choose what the period of delivery. In short, the answer is the following: if you want to be successful in repeat purchase and retention, 1, you have to personalize the offers. 2, you have to heavily involve your data engineering team to make sure that you segment users by not only by the product but by their behavior. What are the products they look through during the period when they were on your site? So you have to recognize them with various technical approaches, and to make sure that you know what products users were looking through during the time that they were on the site, what products they were purchasing, how often they were purchasing, what products can be associated with the products they purchased. And basically, there's a lot of quantitative research, but once you get on top of it, you can be a leader.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, it's interesting looking at it from a consumer standpoint. I can see what you said. I know from a consumer standpoint, sometimes myself, when I'm purchasing things online, and a lot of times there's a lot of these brands are offering the subscription option from, usually for household type products, cosmetics, personal care type products. Those are things that you're naturally going to keep ordering on an ongoing basis. My opinion personally, I tend to shy away from them a little bit just because, and I think what you mentioned kind of addresses that. I shy away from them because it's like my usage for certain products fluctuates. There's sometimes where I may use a product more than other times, other months. And then, I don't want to get a bulk. I don't want to keep getting it sent when I don't necessarily need it. And because then, like you said, when somebody gets a bulk amount, they're like, okay, I don't no longer need this. I'm going to just go ahead and cancel this. I already got too much of this product. I'll just reorder when I go through all of this. And so you mentioned pausing it, which I think is a great way to handle it because you're still keeping them in the subscription, in the, that subscription model, but you're just kind of putting them on pause. And so they just know that when they're ready, they can unpause it. So I think that's just a really effective way of being able to handle it.
Absolutely.
Now, I want to switch gears here a little bit and focus a little bit more on the customer user experience. These days, there's been a ton of innovation with all things digital, all things online. And within the next 5 years, what would you say are some key things that a brand should focus on from a user experience standpoint in order to, I guess you could say, kind of be ahead of the curve in order to be able to effectively have a solid user experience?
Okay, so from a UX standpoint, the one thing that everyone has to have is a UX research methodology in place. So you have to know the sentiment and the perception of your user of your value proposition. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
we start working with clients and we say, well, how do your users view your value proposition? Is it highly competitive, or there are other aspects that they take into account? That you need to understand what would they like to change, what would they like to improve, where they stand in terms of the product that you're offering and the quality of service. So the UX research team should be in place. At least there should be a person, there should be someone who is making sure that you're monitoring user sentiment and user perception of your value proposition and your business offering as a whole. Number two, and this is something that I've spent a bit of time thinking about and writing about, is the zero levers. So the levers that you use to influence users, to motivate them to do a particular action. So if when someone asks me what is the definition of conversion rate optimization or user experience optimization, I say it's a philosophy, or in fact, it's a methodology or a science of convincing users to do something or encouraging users to do something. So if you have the focus to get users to do something, to convert, basically to do some action, you have to know how they think, what they think about your product, what they think about the drivers that can influence them, and two, you have to have the levers, the zero levers, to convince them to do so. Let me just give you just one example of what I mean by zero levers. And this is, by the way, in my view, the most important skill that a CRO professional or user experience professional must have. He should be, or she should be, able to creatively create. Okay, so he should be creative to identify and deploy effective CRO levers. For example, we have a client who is US-based company selling paint for cars, a car paint company, for DIY painting in your garage.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that we found is that users who would come to the site, they would be not always sure what product to buy. There's a lot of products, if it's a spray paint or if it's a jar of paint or if it's some kind of pencil with paint. So they would not be able to naturally identify what kind of product they need and what quantity they need. So we created a tool asking them just a few questions. One, describe or give us the indication of the type of your damage, if it's a scratch, a dent, or whatever else it is. Two, if what's the size of it, basically, and it's quite subjective. So basically, we give users some description of how big is this damage, and by the time they answer this question, we'll give them recommendation. What we found that around 35% of users engaged with that tool, and a significant proportion of them buy. So this is what we call a conversion aiding tool. And this is something that it was not naturally created by a client, or it was not naturally selected by anyone else who was working on this site. So we've looked in UX research. We found that users, one of the factors that prevent them from buying is they don't really understand. Well, some of them don't really understand what product they need and how much of it do they need. So say, well, let's do a quiz funnel. Let's do a funnel where we ask two questions and give them a recommendation, and all of this is encompassed in a conversion aiding tool. So let's say product recommendation tool. And this is the CRO lever that I'm talking about. And sometimes I get into conversations about whether AI will be able to do this for us in some future. Well, my view of this is very simple, is that currently what we see is that AI is nowhere near as creative and nowhere near as effective as human in creating those levers, because you have to think of like a human. You have to think, okay, I have a problem, what would I do? There are numerous different ways of creating this zero lever, and humans are doing this much better than AI currently. So AI, we use AI for aiding purposes, like for example the product recommendations, the algorithm, but the actual so there was some algorithm built in our product recommendation tool, but the actual solution, UX UI copyright solution in the form of zero lever, was created by us humans. So this is a big, it's the paramount importance, this zero levers that an individual in conversion rate optimization and user experience optimization must have. And the third thing, apart from UX research and zero levers, is personalization. That's something we just talked about, something that will definitely be a big thing. Well, it is already a huge thing, but it will be even bigger thing. Knowing, basically segmenting users not by groups, but by individuals. So there will be a separate, dedicated offer for an individual, as opposed to segmenting them by the dresses they bought in a group and sending them one general offer.
Yeah, I can see that happening because at this point we have so much more data than we ever have in the past. You can really get down to the granular level based on someone's individual preferences that are going to be unique to that person. It's going to be unlike anyone else. So yeah, we might as well take advantage of that ability to personalize down to that level. Yeah, it's just it's going to be interesting because with the tools that are out there that allow this personalization, it's I think it's going to be more of effort for a brand's marketing team to, once you've got that personalization now, then this I think also will be where AI can come into play. This will then be an effort of coming up with that specific personalized content, maybe, or messaging for those individual people. And of course, doing that at a mass level, that can't be done, individually by just a human. It would obviously would take too long to be able to do that. That's, I think, where AI comes into play and can create all of those different personalized scenarios, the messaging, the ad campaigns that they're seeing at a higher level. What's your take on that?
Well, absolutely. AI would be able to will allow us to scale the initiative initially put together. It will be able to give us the means to do it. I mean, we have data engineers who can go through massive sizes of data sets. But AI can do it without breaks, without naps or lunches or weekends. So we sometimes we set in some program to run over the weekend, and
Yep.
in the morning Monday we find that our algorithm has gone through all the data set, huge sets of data that we put in there, and we have it ready. So
Yes.
AI is an enabler.
Mhm.
It's by no means the execution
Yes.
key factor of execution. The primary force would be human. Well, from what I've seen for the next 5 to 7 years, I don't see any AI taking over the function of optimizing conversion. Of course, AI can already see, it can look into your funnel and tell you where you're dropping off. In fact, AI could be even tell you reasons why you're dropping off. It could match you with benchmarks and tell you where you can improve based on benchmarks. It can tell you what are the most common reasons why users are dropping off at a particular stage. Well, in fact, you don't need to go too far. You can go to ChatGPT and ask them, why do I have high cart abandonment rate? And ChatGPT will
Yeah.
give you an amazing answer to this.
Yeah. Very
But
true.
this is a very generalized view of this.
Mhm.
Let's say we know for a fact that if you speak with the users regularly and you ask them specific questions that allow you to understand how they perceive your product, your value proposition, and what prevents them from buying, that's an enabler. That's enabler to increase your conversion rate. And in fact, this is exactly of the cornerstone of any future development, where you know exactly what is preventing the user. When you grow your customer base, when you grow your traffic, and that's what we spoke about in the beginning. Initially, you grow your traffic, grow. When you feel okay, I reached my acquisition cost threshold. What do I do now? Now you have to go and optimize your funnel. Now, knowing the reason why your users are not buying, or what prevents them, or what friction, concerns, or ambiguities they have in the funnel, will will be a huge help. Will be well, let's say, a very helpful precondition for future development. But overall, I believe that you have to know not only what drives users to convert. You have to know one thing that in particular that's took me a bit of a while to realize that. It's a bit of a philosophical aspect of our work, is that users come to your site to solve a particular problem. So let's say I'm going to a date, I need a suit, or I'm going for let's say for a trip. I need some kind of software to help me, fall asleep better. So I need to remove this jet lag effect. Well, if you know that users have a problem, you have to really know what was the initial user intent, what was the initial reason why they start looking at solutions. So your product is a solution to multiple different intents and problems that the user may have. And I'll give you a good example of this. Let's say we have, another client with the patches that they sell, the stickers. Those stickers, they elicit lavender smell to make you fall asleep very well. And the problem is the same. They need to be some aid in getting people to sleep, and those people are usually kids. So lavender is very effective for kids. And one thing that we found is that the initial reason why users were looking for this solution are very different. So some parents say, well, my child is going through sleep regression, and I need some aid with his sleep. Another say, my child is sleepwalking. So he wakes up at night and sleepwalking. So I need some heat to keep him calm. Someone said, my child is very agitated before, or very, driven before going to sleep. So he has problem falling asleep and then staying asleep. So, and there were other different problems.
All right.
So there is one problem with different intents. In fact, someone even said that the problem with my child's sleep is that he's afraid of sleeping in different beds when you're traveling. So I need to give some some relaxation. So he's, to calming down before going to bed. And it works really, really well, in fact. So knowing the initial reason, we would be able to create a dedicated conversion flow that would answer that specific reason, that specific intent. For very generally, you ask them a question in the beginning of the flow: what is the reason, or what problem with sleep do you want to address? And then you list those
Hmm.
problems. He
Yes.
would he or she would click on one of these problems. You would give them an explanation how your product helps to address this issue, and help you help a person to fall asleep and stay awake,
Mm,
stay asleep,
mm,
and then have a great time tomorrow. And it works. We did it
yeah.
for multiple clients. We did this quiz funnel. They pick one of the problems. We explain how this works. We explain how this will help you. Users, with great joy, they go on and say, "Okay, I found a solution," because these guys, not only they explained it to me, they also introduced some reviews of people who already had this problem and who this product helped them to address the same problem that he or she has.
Yeah, that's really powerful stuff. It's almost like a virtual salesperson stepping someone through, their issue, and then pointing them in the right direction, pointing them in the right aisle with the product that's going to meet their needs. So, yeah,
Exactly.
really, really, really powerful stuff. Well, Ihor, this has been an awesome conversation. I've definitely learned a ton. I know our listeners and viewers have as well. I always like to shift gears here with my last question, just so our audience can get to know you a little bit better. If you don't mind sharing one closing fun fact about yourself that you think we'd be interested to know.
Well, I'm not sure how fun this is, but um, I can tell, and I told it to my wife. She said, "Well, that's a great thing to know." That I was in the beginning of my career, I was working for multinationals, like Nissan, Audi, Infinity. I was launching some brands in Ukraine. Then I decided, then this is the level I reached I reached the capacity that I felt that I need to switch gears. I need to go somewhere else.
Hmm.
And then I took, the savings. I went to do an MBA, and I spent a lot of money there. Um, I'm not going to go if it's worth it, but it's still an interesting experience. And then when I came back, I was looking for a job. I realized an MBA is not an automatic prospect for a McKinsey or Boston Consulting Group position.
All right.
So there was a bit of struggle there. I did find a job, but in the end, after about a year of my work, I started to open shops, small corner shops,
Mm.
like selling ice cream, sodas,
Okay.
and so on. And then at one point, I felt that, look, I've done an MBA. I was looking for these aspirations of conquering the world, and now I'm selling
Right.
ice cream in small, corner shops around Kiev.
Hmm.
And that was a point when I realized that you have to make a decision. I
Gotcha.
made a decision that my next job or next career would be somewhere where I'll be selling my time for a lot of money. So
Gotcha.
I would value this, because having 3 4 shops around Kiev, small shops, they're still, they are not covering even some bit of the ambition that I had going to MBA.
Sure.
So it's an evolution, and
Hmm.
I'm there where I think I'm most useful right now.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Sometimes, early in our journey of where we go as an entrepreneur or a professional, sometimes it's hard to see what one thing is going to where one thing is going to lead us to. But you just have to stick in there. So that's just a great testimony to, your ambition and being able to stick it through, and then kind of finally landing to where you're meant to be. So
Absolutely.
awesome story. Thank you for sharing that. And finally, before we do let you go, if our listeners and viewers want to reach out to you and pick your brain any more about conversion rate optimization or customer user experience, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Well, LinkedIn, Ihor
Okay.
Sokolov on LinkedIn. I'm there. I'm posting. I'm active there. So go ahead and reach out. I'll be happy to talk.
Okay, awesome. We'll be sure to have the link for your social handle there in the show notes and link to your guys' website as well. And definitely encourage people to reach out to you and see how they can connect. Well, Ihor, it's been an awesome pleasure having you on. We really appreciate this conversation on the E-commerce Marketing Podcast.
Thank you very much, Alan.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the E-commerce Marketing Podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and share it with everyone you know. Are you looking to take your digital marketing to the next level but are tired of weeding through countless YouTube videos with unproven and untrusted marketing strategies? Well, we have the answer for you. The More Sales Every Month online digital marketing course. In this information-packed course, you will learn effective keyword research, link building, content marketing, and much more to attract and convert your site visitors into paying customers. Just go to moresaleseverymonth.com and sign up today for a low one-time fee. In addition to this power-packed course, if you would like to get access to a growing repository of digital marketing articles, PDFs, and ebooks, check out getosi.com/resources and opt in to get full access to our library of priceless marketing information to help you take your digital marketing to the next level.